The story of Elijah Gray's origin begins in 1056 AD, the date of his birth. He was born strong. The priest who was there overseeing the birth and Elijah's father both agreed he was a born soldier. Elijah's mother would hear nothing of her only child leaving off to war and swore that he would never be a warrior. Elijah would grow closer to his mother over the years, while growing distant from his father, who would constantly call him weak. The only true attention given to Elijah by his father was the time spent secretly training him in the ways of war. Elijah's training began at the age of 3. Elijah's mother was stricken ill in the year 1062. She died of the unknown plague. In the same year, all his father had to say was, "Everyone dies, but given enough time and training, a soldier can stop even that." The priests looked upon Elijah, a crying child, and saw the tears as a sign of lack of faith. Elijah was beaten into shape and molded into an amazing warrior. By the year 1066, Elijah was a master swordsman, which would come in handy as 1066 was the year that his father would donate himself to the Crusades. Elijah was 10 years old and left to fend for himself. He thrived even without his father, hunting his own food and protecting his small village even more effectively than its own officers. In 1067, after one whole year of being alone, the priest came to him and told him of his father's demise. Elijah assumed that this was a genuine, heartfelt gesture, but in reality it was nothing more than an attempt to get one more Templar for the Crusades. Elijah shed no tears for his father while they took him to the church city, but deep down he felt only darkness and dread. Elijah Gray was raised and trained by the church from the years 1068 to 1070. Elijah was made into the greatest warrior the Crusades had ever seen. What would happen next would prove this to be a fact. In the year 1071, Elijah became a Templar knight. Elijah fought in an 8-year crusade. From 1071 to 1079, Elijah killed and conquered any people that the church pointed him towards. At the beginning of the last year of the 8-year crusade, Elijah met Jack Query. They would become great friends and an amazing duo of warriors. In the year 1080, Elijah and Jack would return to the church city. During this time, they became more than just allies. They fell in love. Jack Query tried to talk Elijah into leaving the church and running away together. Elijah tells Jack that after the next crusade, they would be able to leave with the blessing of the Pope and God. From the year 1085 to 1094, Elijah and Jack lived together in secret. Their training continues until 1094, when Elijah and Jack lead an army into their final crusade together. The crusade lasted until 1096, 2 horrible years of war. The only thing that gave Elijah's life purpose was Jack. One arrow is all it took to take Jack away from Elijah. Jack was dead. His last words? "I need to be remembered. Please, El, I need you to promise." Elijah swore to his dead lover that he would never be forgotten. Elijah was the only survivor of the crusade. Elijah started his long journey back to the church city, swearing that everyone in that cursed city would pay. Year 1096, at the age of 40, Elijah Gray returned to the church city, prepared to take vengeance on the Pope and even his God if need be. Once he arrived, he saw the city set ablaze. He entered the church city and saw that the demons of hell had taken the city, and the Pope had been corrupted and taken over by a devil. Elijah found survivors and felt the need to protect the innocent survivors. Elijah first assisted a woman trapped in the bell tower, killing one of the generals of the horde and saving a child's life in the process. The woman gave him a bag with magical properties capable of holding an infinite amount of objects. The woman told him that the demons were holding her brother prisoner in the court building. Upon leaving the bell tower, a hellhound follows him, seemingly interested in his activities. Elijah walked into the courtroom and entered. He murdered a massive devil which was in the process of executing the woman's brother. Once the man was released, he gave Elijah a book of incantations. The man told Elijah that he had dreamed of his arrival, and the one in his dream told him that he would need the book. There was a page marked already. Elijah exited. He saw the hellhound sitting as if waiting on him. The marked page told of a way to bond a human and demon, allowing both to gain a familiar. Elijah did as the page said, sliced his hand, spit in the blood, and gave it to the hound. Miraculously, the hound accepted the pact. The two were linked telepathically once the pact was made. They spoke of what was occurring and agreed to stop it together. The two suddenly heard screams coming from the treasury and rushed in to help whoever was screaming. Once the devil was vanquished and the old man was seemingly saved, Elijah walked up to the man. The man used his last breath to bestow upon his savior an early warning system. It gave Elijah an ability. Any creature or devil of the dark that is near him or even looked in his direction would cause him to have a great feeling of dread, and their true name would be written upon his body. The old man then succumbed to the wounds. Elijah learned the hound's name when it was etched onto his own body immediately after being granted the new ability. They both agreed to simply call the hellhound by a nickname, Hound. Elijah and Hound exited the treasury and saw all of the townspeople, the woman Elijah had saved, and her brother surrounded by the dead demons. Elijah, now knowing they were all safe, ran to the cathedral. He stood before the demon who had taken over the Pope's body. The demon's name, Althar Dugon, was etched onto Elijah's arm. The demon mocked Elijah until he mentioned Jack's name. Elijah was enraged by the mention of his love and charged at Althar, embedding his blade into the devil's arm. Impressed by his strength, Althar placed the mark of destruction upon Elijah's forehead. The mark healed each of Elijah's wounds, leaving only scars and the names etched onto his arm. The mark of destruction would make it to where Elijah would never age, never die, and all physical wounds would heal instantaneously. Althar did this to ensure he would have a worthy fight once he returned to the immortal plane to conquer it. Althar quickly escaped down to hell, knowing that without his army he would not be conquering the land of mortals. Elijah and Hound decided then and there that they would use their immortality to protect the world from evil creatures set on destruction.